Hey, are we on? We're on, Zazoo. Hey, oh, I'm gonna get the TV in there. Hi, everybody. Leslie the Little Plazz here. Zazoo Plazz, here for my weekly report, May 19th, 2024, Pentecost Sunday. You know what that is. CCD teacher here for like 11 years, 12 years for my boys. Yeah, once a Catholic, whatever. I did the eyebrows kind of extra dark this week. Just like Zazoo. I'm looking at myself in pictures. I'm like, oh, I think I got this eyebrow is always kind of, so my right one, no, this one. It's always kind of, one eyebrow's raised in a little expression of surprise perpetually. They don't have one of those emojis though. They should have a Zazoo emoji where one eyebrow is kind of like, maybe they do. I have to look. What does that have to do with anything? Absolutely nothing. But, you know, we're all about nonsense over here. Silliness, goofiness. Anyway, so we've got a lot of fun in store today. Not quite the full moon. That's going to be the 23rd this week. It's a waxing. Now, waxing, it's getting bigger. Oh, the shirt. It's like, outside it looks kind of like more like a strawberry pink, but in here it looks kind of like a red, which is perfect because it's Pentecost Sunday. And I think that when I used to go to church, I think the color was always red. You know, the priest would always wear the red vestments, right? And it's not, you know, I was raised Catholic, but what it did for me, I think, was it introduced me, you know, it gave me a really good foundation for the understanding of how, you know, symbols and myths and even nature, you know, it inspires our rituals as humans, no matter what religion you are. If you have no religion, that's your religion. No religion. You know, maybe you're more of a cerebral person. You know, maybe you're a person of great faith who doesn't need, you know, structured religion as much. You know, maybe you did once. That's kind of like me. You know, at a certain time in my life, I was raised, you know, to have a lot of structure. We go to church every Sunday, or Saturday night, because, you know, sometimes my parents would be like, oh, let's go to the vigil mass, you know, Saturday, get it over with. This is how I was raised by good Catholics, right? French Canadians, good Canucks, right? I can say that because I am one. That's what they would say. My parents, my mother would say, oh, you know, the Canucks up in Canada, they come down. Those are like the ones I get. And I pictured them, you know, when my mother would say that, like, and I don't mean this to slam anybody who's French Canadian, because I am French Canadian on both sides. But what it is, you know, referring to the old people would say that. They'd say, oh, you know, and I got this feeling that they were all up there living in log cabins in the woods, you know. And then they'd come down to visit. You know, my mother was born at Fall River. We go to Fall River, right? When I was just a little girl. And I have pictures of myself sitting there, you know, with all these French relatives. And I'm the little lady, and I'm all dressed up, you know, sitting there eating my ice cream or whatever at Great Aunt Mary's house, or like my mother's aunt, you know. And everything would be fancy, you know, big furniture and doilies and, you know, kind of like fancy lady stuff. And I'd be sitting there eating my ice cream, and I'd be surrounded by all these people, you know, these strangers I didn't know, and they'd show up. So Aunt Mary, I remember, so my grandmother was the oldest of like 7. So my mother's mother, and then her, you know, she had all these brothers and sisters, and, you know, then they had all kinds of cousins and everything. They used to, But, oh, this is a perfect story. I don't know. I must have my ancestors with me this week because this is perfect. Oh my God, this is great. Hold on. Stay with me. So they'd come down, and my mom would say, they'd say, well, we came over the Montauk Bridge, which was the Mount. She was older when she realized that it was the Mount Hope Bridge. It's somewhere around Fall River, Rhode Island, area. So they would, go visit the relatives, and they'd come down from Canada, not in wagons or on horses, but in these big American cars, or Canadian cars, Cadillacs. That was the thing. And my mother was born in the late 30s, almost 1940. So she was just a little girl, in the 40s, and then into the 50s, she was a teenager. So they'd come down. My mom was a young teen or whatever. They'd come down in these big gas guzzling, Chevys and Cadillacs, but mostly Cadillacs. There was this symbol that was like, ooh, Uncle Bill, he made it. He's got this big car. And I knew these relatives as a little girl, maybe in the 70s, late 60s at the earliest. I was maybe 5, 3, 4, 5, the end of the 60s, beginning of the 70s. I barely remember this. But, we'd go, and there would always be the relatives and the cars, the big, they'd fit like 6 of them. These are like 6 or 7 people. I don't know. They're all yakking in French, and they come down. So I said, this story is perfect for my, and I never really, I have vague memories of meeting these people, but my mother had, the way she would tell the story, it was so funny, because the way they would talk, they would skip all kinds of, that everything was all one, run-on sentence. Mount Hope, the Mount Hope, Matanao, hey, Matanao. My grandmother would call me Zazoo Plazz, who I didn't even know at the time was an actress from the 20s. But, it's funny how these, I started thinking about myself, in my growing up. Why are my childhood years so precious to me? And why do I not want to let go of them? And here I am, 58, and they're as precious to me as ever. And I think it's what, these things from childhood, it's what they represent. A time of discovery when everything was new, a time of just wonder, and what am I going to find out today? What am I going to do today? What's and it's not that anybody was, forcing me to learn anything. I was discovering things on my own. I used to go pick up a book. Oh, what's this? Even, when I was just a little baby, my mother had books lying around, all kinds of books for me to find, all kinds of, we'd go outside. My dad would be working out in the yard. I'd go out there. He said, there's this picture of me that I've posted holding like a hoe or something. And I thought, oh, my dad put me to work. He says, recently, he's 87. He said, no. He said, I didn't give you that. He said, I had my tools lying out on the lawn. And he said, he said you were just barely walking, and you walked over and you picked it up. I'm like, oh. He said, you were 18 months old. You picked up my hoe. So he said, I went, got my camera, and I took a picture of you. And then I gave me Plazz, and I said, Dad, I picked up a lawn implement you had lying around for the 18-month-old child to pick up not only shovels with sharp points, but rakes, which I also have a picture of me holding a rake, the ones with they were big, heavy wooden things with spikes, metal spikes on the end, right? They came like this. And I picked that up. He said, you are all right. You wanted to help. So talk to your parents. If your parents are in their 80s, 70s. Talk to them. Ask them, pick up a picture and ask them the story. Pick up a picture of a relative, ask them to show you pictures of relatives that you don't know, right? Because once they're gone, who's going to know? Who's going to know that was great Aunt Edna, or, Yvette Paquette Goyette. In my case, there is such a person. Well, there was. And I said, Mom, I'd ask her thing. I'd say, wait, she married a guy named Goyette, and her maiden name was Paquette, and her first name was Yvette. Okay, folks, if you stayed with me this long, thank you. Because the humor, sometimes it takes a little while to come, but it comes. Yeah, it's my own brand. I bottle it here. Yeah, so I'm getting to it. We know the story of the Pentecost, of Pentecost. My youngest kid, the Aries, the year we baptized him, it was June 8th, and that was Pentecost Sunday, because Easter was later that year. He was born on Palm Sunday, April, it was in mid-April, and then by June, we'll wait, and the earliest we could get in to baptize him was June 8th. And I remember it, his godparents came down from Ossining, New York, like in Chappaqua, my husband's cousin and his wife. They didn't have kids yet, I don't think. No, they had just gotten married. They got married the year before. I was pregnant with Zach at their wedding. So we went up to Philadelphia for the wedding, because that's where she's from. So, and they were, his godparents. And it's funny because my kid, our kid, he's a firefighter, and his godfather is also a firefighter, volunteer. And so growing up, he would take him, we'd go visit, and he'd take him to like the firehouse, let him, try on his fire hat, and sit on the fire truck. And then there'd be, parades. There was a parade with all the fire trucks in the summer, or late summer, early fall, I guess. And we take him to that, just a little guy, And so when he was growing up, he would see, like, he'd put on the jacket, and go, showed Zach his firefighter's jacket, which, Zach eventually went through Explorers, and he got to get dressed up, and he got awards and scholarships for being a firefighter. Why am I talking about this? Because one of the ways the Holy Spirit showed, itself to the Spirit came down to the apostles, was through, fire, right? They say a great wind. There was a great wind, and then, tongues as of fire appeared over their heads. You've seen the paintings, right? With the apostles, with the flames coming out of their heads. All right, so, I've got Mercury in Sagittarius, which is a fire sign. And we've got Jupiter going into Gemini. So that's air, right? We're talking about speaking. So the apostles were speaking to people. So they were gathered from all over the world, right? All different languages. And each person heard the apostles speak in their own language. So this is what the Holy Spirit does. In other words, it's like Google Translate, right? The Holy Spirit. So you find yourself hating on, technology. Well, that's a slippery slope there. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. The flesh versus the spirit. If technology is used for good purposes, then it can be, if it's your servant and not your master, then, it's a tool. It's like anything, right? If you let it, though, control you and take over your will, take over your life, anything, right, that does that. That's, all right, so that's how you get kicked out of the kingdom of God. how you get kicked out of the party, man. By succumbing, right? Not that those things, not that the flesh, right? It's if you infuse things of the earth with the beauty of that spirit, right? If you don't clog up all your passages, and because then the spirit can't flow through you. If you do too much of anything, right? Eat too much, drink too much, anything. It's whatever you need to get you going. If you need anything, other than you eating and sleeping and normal, centering of the body, that's different. I mean, the body in itself is a beautiful thing and sacred. That's what houses our spirit, right? That's where I used to get confused as a kid. I'd think, ooh, flesh bad, But as a kid growing up in Catholic school, the nuns don't, they don't give you specifics, right? The priests. But, then when I was at Boston College, the priests would be up there. They used to live in the dorm, at the end of the dorm. Father, Ed, whatever. Father whatever. Donald, O'Connell, whatever. I'm just making up Irish names here. But it was, most of the priests were Irish in Boston when I was there. And, see, I was, not to get off the subject, but, I was looking at my own, I found this, the Boston College Freshman Register for the class of 1987. This is what they sent us before we showed up freshman year. So this was the Gen X, first class of Gen X. This is what we got, This is BC. Instead of going on a website, this is all of us, all right? So I'm trying to find my picture now. Oh, yeah, I'm here. Where am I? Oh, there I am. I don't know if you can see. There I am. See? Right there. Leslie, fill it up. So that was me, right? And they had all these things about, Boston. And I was salivating. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to get here. Look at this, sitting on the Dust Bowl, like doing stuff. Nightlife, look at this. The city out there, look at that. Look at this, all kinds of, there's the subway and all these places you can eat. And, Mary Ann's, the Purple Shamrock, look at this. And there's Father Monin, Donald Monin. He used to be the principal, the president. Dean, then there was, Dean Newhouser, School of Management. I was in the School of Management there. So, all these, here's, those are the steps that I had to climb. The Higgins, no, that's the Dust Bowl. Where's the Higgins steps. I had to climb those every freaking day in the winter with a big pack of books on my back, kids. All right. And then when you graduate, they give you this. And you can see how much heavier it is, right? Because if you made it this far, man, here's my program. Isn't this nice? And I got rid of a lot of stuff, and a lot of books and things. I got my diploma in the huge frame, and I look at, this is the invitation they sent to my parents for and this is the program. Look at this thing. This was the program for our graduation. Oh, there's my Golden Key National Honor Society. See, so for me, I think, where I get caught up is with education. I realize this is a thing with me. I find it really hard when I get around people who don't value higher education. I get a little, bit, I gotta come down from my high horse. I gotta remind myself, listen, the more I know, the more I realize I don't know, right? I'm open to learning. And that's something and yet I don't think it's, like Jerry Seinfeld said, and the Duke, I posted on my page, the commencement speech he gave at Duke. He says, we're embarrassed about things that we should be proud of, and proud of things we should be embarrassed about. And that, I can't agree with that more. And it's kind of been bothering me. I am proud of my, if somebody asks me, yeah, I've got 2 degrees, and I'm proud of that. I worked hard to get those degrees. And when I went to get my diploma, even though my father forgot to check that he had film in the camera at my undergrad, and this is a story I tell all the time, my poor father, he feels terrible. He doesn't really feel terrible. I want him to feel terrible. No, I'm just kidding. We've made our peace about this. My roommate's parents took a picture of us, my sophomore year roommate's parents. We were both in the business school. So I have a nice picture that she took of us, her parents took of us. She's Japanese American, her parents are from Japan, and they took a nice picture of us. And so I have that, and I have the one that they send you that's about this big. I'll put it in one of my books, of getting my diploma from the dean. Now, they gave us the ones rolled up, and then they mailed us, they just gave us like a thing, and then they mailed the actual diploma because it was all in Latin and everything. These kids today, it was, not only was in Latin, it was in cursive. These kids today, they couldn't even read it. Not that I took Latin, but I kind of knew it, Subturi, everything was in Latin at Boston College. Anyway, yeah, because that was, they used to have masses in Latin when my folks were growing up. But after the Second Vatican Council, they did away with that, and the priests started facing forward, and that's all I remember. So anyway, yeah, so the song of the week, it all comes together. I graduated college in '87, and this song, it was actually, Bruce Springsteen and Natalie Cole did the song. Okay, it was Bruce Springsteen who wrote the song, Pink Cadillac. All right. And so it was released May 3rd, '84, on the B-side of Dancing in the Dark, right? Got up to number 27. So that's where you hear this, there's a line in that song that says, it's about flesh versus the spirit, right? So what I focused on was the reading in Galatians, St. Paul to the Galatians. It said the flesh, we must crucify the desires of the flesh if we're going to belong to Jesus, So it said something about, the flesh. Spirit guides us to the truth. God to Jesus to us. Yes. So, and he talks about Eve tempted Adam with an apple. I ain't going for that. It must, it had to be the pink Cadillac, whatever. You know how it goes. So I did a little research. I guess later he put this song. Late. This song was kicked out of Born in the USA in favor of I'm Going Down. So I'm going down. All right, but so he took this line, tempted Adam with an apple. There was an Elvis Presley song from 1954, apparently. You may have, yeah. So Elvis replaced "You May Get Religion" with "You May Have a Pink Cadillac," because Elvis's touring vehicle was a pink Cadillac, and he was, it was a 1954 song, "Baby Let's Play House." So that was an Elvis song that inspired Bruce Springsteen to put that line, in the pink Cadillac. So, and then, so what happens? So that song kind of did okay, but then Bette Midler decides she wants to release that song, right? So he says, she gets it all ready to go, and then he says, no. Bette Mindler, no. So he doesn't let her do it. And then in 1988, Natalie Cole comes along, right? And she wants to do it. So she does it. The song hits the top 10, 1988, and the video is awesome. I'm going to put a link to the video. I had forgotten. I'm in there dancing. Maybe I'll put a video of real of me dancing this song. It's awesome. And it was the times, 1988. I had friends, we were driving these big, our parents' cars, well, not mine, but, a lot of kids had their parents' big boats of cars, right? I mean, we weren't like the boomers, and, I was very conscious. I had a Toyota, I had a Datsun, and then I had a Toyota. My parents went over to Japanese cars very early, but when I was a kid, my dad had a Cutlass Supreme. I mean, that was an Olds. He had a Buick when I was born. I came home from the hospital in a 1965 Buick with a, hold me in the front seat. It was all about the cars, man. My dad, he's fond of telling me, of this car he had in the mid-50s. He was so proud of it, right? So there we go with the flesh, the flesh. What's your thing? For my dad, it was cars, I've got uncle who's, crazy about his Corvette. He likes that. But, that there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. That's part of, he enjoys life. There's nothing wrong with having a nice car. But, does it take over your soul is the thing. That's where the spiritual versus the flesh. So I'm going to post a link. Bruce Springsteen's, before he plays the song in this concert back in 85, he's like, this is about the conflict between the flesh. And, he talks about, he plays it up, right? The whole desire thing. But what is desire? Desires and wants, and what's that all about? Is it something, a desire that comes from above, from your higher self, that's going to make the world a better place and enrich your life in so doing? So that the wants, they'll come. Right now, I want a new pocketbook. The strap on my old one broke. I've had it for 5 years. I want a new bag. No, I need a new bag, literally, okay? So I want one, but I need one. I have a physical need to carry my stuff in something, all right? Do I? Maybe I desire a fancy bag that's hundreds of dollars, but I'll get one at TJ Maxx. Use my $6 gift card. I'll get one for $30, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Instead of spending $1,000 on a handbag, I'll spend $25, or whatever. I see one it's me. It's a Zazoo bag, right? And for me, I don't need to spend a lot of money. I go to Savers and I find something that I desire, right? Because it's me, because it reflects me, right? So maybe Bruce, Natalie Cole could afford to buy a nicer bag, or definitely Bruce Springsteen. Not that he buys bags, but you know what I mean. Car, guitar, whatever. He also gives back a lot, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Where, Natalie Cole was big in the late 80s, early 90s. And then she, unfortunately, she died in 2015. She got sick. But, when she did the duet with her father, Nat King Cole, that was just beautiful. I mean, her voice, what a gift. What a gift Natalie Cole was. And, to honor her, listen to the songs. Listen to Bruce Springsteen's version and listen to Natalie Cole's version. And, do a little reflecting, a little dancing. Now, for me, being a fire, lots of fire and air in my chart, I know it just feels good to dance and move and reflect on things. Things come to me when I'm moving that do not come to me when I'm sitting still. So, that's it for today for the Zazoo report. And congratulate if you know anybody graduating out there. Congratulations. Yay! And we got one more year to go. My kid's just finished his junior year at college, so he's got one more year. And he did pretty well. You know, we're proud of him. So until next week, this has been the Zazoo Plazz report, and I wish you a good week. Go out there and enjoy. And all those, oh yeah, those Mary Kay people, they used to drive pink Cadillacs. I don't think they have those anymore, though. They'd be, you know, pink electric vehicles. Beep, beep. See you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.